Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the third generation iPad Air. And this has been out for, well, almost 2 weeks at this point, and I've been using it on and off, and I think it's a really great iPad. And this sort of places itself in between the Mini, the regular iPad, and the iPad Pro. In fact, it's the same size as the iPad Pro 10.5 that they don't sell anymore. Now, this comes in at $499. That'll get you 64 gigabytes of storage, or $649 will get you 256 gigabytes of storage. It's not expandable, and if you'd like to add cellular data so you can use this without a cell phone or a hotspot or Wi-Fi, it costs $129 additional dollars, so you could top this out at $779. Now, it comes in 3 different colors. This is silver. You can also get space gray and gold. The design is pretty classic for the iPad Air at this point, although it is a little bit bigger. But if we look at the back, you'll see we just have a camera, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. We have a microphone on the back, and then your traditional Apple and everything else that looks familiar. If we take a look at the front, of course, we have Touch ID, and this looks to be the second generation Touch ID. They don't really say anymore, but it's fast enough that I think it is second generation, and it works just fine. It is a physical clicky button, though, and actually clicks down. It's not like the iPhone 7 or newer with the home button, so it is physical. Now on the bottom, we have 2 speakers and our lightning cable connector in the middle. And then on the right side, we have 2 volume buttons. On the top, we have a power sleep wake button, and we also have a microphone in the middle, as well as a headphone jack on the other side. Now on the left side, we have a smart connector, and these 3 pogo pin adapters will allow you to connect things like a keyboard. And there's not many other accessories than that, but it will allow you to use a keyboard with it. The same one that works with the iPad Pro. Now on the front, the display looks fantastic. It's a laminated display, so that means that right up on the edge, there is no air gap. So that means there's no gap between the glass and the LCD display underneath it. So it looks like the icons are sitting right on the display, and Apple has done this in all of their Pro products for quite some time, and some other products such as the new iPad mini. And the touch responsiveness is quite good. I've had no issues there, and I've never had an issue with that with iPads at all. But this display is 10.5 inches corner to corner. The resolution is 2224 by 1668 with 264 pixels per inch. It's got the P3 wide color gamut, true tone, and it's oleophobic, so it shouldn't show too many fingerprints, and it's got an anti-reflective coating on it. It does go up to 500 nits, so that's its brightness level, and it's quite bright. You'll be able to see it in most situations. If you're in a very sunny day outside, you may have some trouble looking at it. It just may not be bright enough for that, but for the most part, it's going to be fine. Now, this one also supports Apple Pencil. So not only does it support the keyboard, it supports Apple Pencil, but it only supports the first generation Apple Pencil. So you'll still have to use the kind of goofy lightning connector at the top where you want to plug it in and then sync it. So we'll plug it in here. We'll wait for it to pair. It does take a moment here. There we go. We'll pair it to the device and unplug it, and it should work. I'll put the cap back on, and now it works with the iPad. And this is a great pencil. It is a little bit less expensive than the new second generation pencil, but you do have to charge it with that lightning port, and its responsiveness is quite good. Now, this display is not a 120 hertz display like the Pro version is, so you don't get Pro motion, but for most people it's going to be okay. If we go into notes, I'll open a new note, and the actual speed and responsiveness is quite good. It will keep up pretty much as fast as you can draw. If you had a 120 hertz display, you may notice a difference, but there's really no issue. Unless I show this in slow motion going back and forth, you're not going to see any lag, not with the human eye normally. So it's pretty good that way. I have no issues with the pencil, and it's very nice because it's pressure sensitive. So if you want to shade and things like that, if you're into drawing, it's great for that. It's also great for precision when it comes to things like iMovie. And iMovie is one of the apps that works really well on here. This is a 4K video that I showed. I showed this in my iPad mini review, but here I've made some edits because in that video, it was very fast to export. And I think that's because I didn't change anything. So let's see how quickly it exports now. So we'll go ahead and hit done. and then we'll hit the button down here, and then we'll save the video, and then we'll save it in 4K, and let me just put a timer next to it so we can see how quickly it saves. So here is the stopwatch. We'll hit go, and we'll see how quick it takes to export a 4K video that I've modified slightly. So that took about 4 minutes and 39 seconds, and that's pretty impressive considering the movie is 3 minutes and 47 seconds. So much faster than any Mac I've actually used when doing the same sorts of things. Now, the iPad Air comes with the A12 processor, so it's got the latest processor. It just doesn't have the extra graphics power that the iPad Pro does. It does use 3 gigabytes of RAM, and that seems to be fine for iOS. It's plenty fast. We'll talk about the benchmarks in a moment. But before we do that, let's talk about the cameras, and then we'll see what kind of speed the apps have as well. So the front-facing camera is basically the same as all the other higher-end iPads. It's a 7-megapixel camera with an f2.2 aperture. Now, this particular camera is not anything phenomenal, but it works great if you want to record yourself, you're on a FaceTime call, things like that, and it works fine. It does not have the true depth sensor that the iPad Pro does, like the iPhone XS, XS Max, and those things. So you're not going to get the Animoji or Memoji, but you'll be able to use it for a camera. Now, if I go back into this and flip it around, the rear camera is okay. It still only records in 1080p, but it has an 8-megapixel camera, and it's an f2.4, so it's the same as the iPad mini, but you won't get the nicer camera that you get on the iPad Pro. Now, the actual speakers on the device, there's only 2 on the bottom. They are technically stereo speakers, so if you're in portrait, they will sound sort of in stereo, but most people watch content in landscape, and you'll only have the speakers on one side, depending on which orientation you're holding the iPad in. So you'll either have them on the left or the right, and whatever works for you will work just fine. And then also, this one is very fast when it comes to things like multitasking. So if we have the App Store open, maybe we bring in music, pull down here, we can resize. You'll see it keeps up just fine. There's no issues here. Maybe the occasional stutter, but that seems to be related to that A12 processor. But it's plenty fast. You can multitask all day long and no issue. You can go right back into multitasking or back out, and things just seem fast and fluid all of the time. Now, when it comes to things like games, well, let me open Minecraft because I tend to do that on every video so you can kind of get an idea, but we'll take a look at something else as well. So let me open this up. We'll wait for it to load. It is the first time I've opened it on this device, and you'll see it open nice and fast. Create new world, create, and we'll get in pretty quickly usually. So we'll wait for it. It kind of just zips along when we're using it, and it doesn't seem to be taking too long to load, and we're in. So if you want to play Minecraft, you can. No issues here. The frame rates look pretty good. I don't see any issues here, and you'll be able to play that all you want. Now, other apps such as Ark Survival, this is a little bit more intensive, and this should handle it no problem. You'll see I haven't opened it on this iPad before. So it's more graphic intensive. You'll see it looks okay, and I know we swipe up to jump, things like that, but you'll see there was a hiccup there. So it will run these apps, no problem, but you're really not going to see much difference between this and any of the other iPads. Maybe the Pro will be a little bit better, but this was ported from a gaming computer, so it seems to be okay. Things like The Room load fine as well. The Room is a game I've played through, well, probably a couple times at this point, at least all of the Room games I've gone through. And you'll see this one has not been loaded on this one either, but it says welcome back, so we'll continue the game. And this is a fairly graphic intensive game, and you'll see it loaded pretty quickly. And it's an interesting game, so it's a nice puzzle game if you're into that. You'll see that it seems to be just fine and fast. And if we want to go back and forth between this and, say, Minecraft, takes a second to resume. There we go. We're back in. Then maybe we go back to Ark, and it loads pretty quickly. So there's not really any issues as far as speed. It's going to do whatever you need it to do, and the back of this is not warm at all. So let's run the benchmarks just once so that we can get a basic benchmark score, and it should be pretty quick. Let me close all the other apps. Now all the apps are closed. Let's go ahead and run this, see what we get. The benchmark completed, and it scored pretty well at 4,772 for single core, 11,385 for multi-core. And really what I look for in these benchmarks is that it stays close to 4,800 and 11,000 for multi-core score. If it's in that range, it's going to perform just fine, like the other iPads as well. So this is a great iPad. If you'd like to see a comparison between this and the Pro, I could do that in a different video. If you'd like, let me know in the comments below. I think it's a good iPad to pick up, especially when you can get a deal on it, which there's usually deals these days at local electronics stores. This one or the Mini, depending on what size you want, they're pretty much identical when it comes to specs. So it's more about what screen size works for you. So if you wanted this or the Mini, either one is a great buy. Check out the iPad Mini review. It's very similar to this particular iPad. And let me know which one is your favorite in the comments below. Personally, I prefer the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I just like that larger screen size, and it's what I use most of the time when I'm not editing these videos. So I do use an iPad all the time, and I think this is a great option. The Pro is great, and this is basically the same thing without the 120 hertz display or speakers. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description, as I always do. If you have any other questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If not, the other one's okay too. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.